Welcome back guys to episode 96 in my weekly countdown series. So this week we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 most fun vehicles to own in GTA Online. I'm going to be going over how much they cost, how to get them, and also what sort of stuff you can do with them. Don't forget to leave the video a like and subscribe if you are new around here, and let me know in the comments what your favourite vehicle to own in GTA Online is. So let's get right into this. Up first is the ULTRALIGHT. This vehicle came as part of the recent Smuggler's Run DLC and is actually one of the more affordable aircraft that were added in that update. The ULTRALIGHT will set you back $665,000, or you can get it at the trade price of $500,000. I believe you just have to do 3 different steal missions from your hangar, and that can get you a nice discount, so you can save $165k just by doing 3 quick missions. This thing is basically a powered glider that can seat just one player and also has a mounted turret on the bottom. And the turret, as you can see in the gameplay, honestly isn't really that powerful. However, it does have quite a big range of angles it can fire at, so even if you're flying in front or behind of a target on the ground, you can usually always be able to aim and shoot down at that person. And as you can see, this vehicle is just a lot of fun to fly around at, or glide around at, I should say, around Los Santos. And you can kind of take the game at a different pace than you normally would in most of the other air vehicles or land vehicles. I found this one especially satisfying to control when I was using a controller, because what you can do is let it just glide, and that way you can use both of your thumbsticks to concentrate on your aiming reticle, so you can fully concentrate on where you're going to be firing your gun at. Overall, it's a pretty versatile vehicle and can take off quickly, so it's good to make some quick escapes off the ground. At the number 9 spot is the ramp buggy, and this one came as part of the import-export update. And I'm not going to lie, the ramp buggy has a very extortionate price for what you get. This one's going to cost you just under $3.2 million at full price, or $2.4 million for the trade price. And pretty much what you see is what you get. It doesn't have any weapons attached to it. However, just something about the ramp buggy is so satisfying to drive. The vehicle just slips straight under any car, whether it's an oncoming car or a car driving away from you, and it'll just launch them into the sky, which is just very satisfying to do. Do that to all sorts of vehicle types. The ramp buggy is also customizable, however the paint jobs aren't really all that impressive. You know, this thing's still going to look like a bit of a dirty door wedge. Up next is the Phantom Wedge, and this was another import-export vehicle, and at first glance this one might look a bit ridiculous. You know, it's a kind of a truck with a huge metal wedge attached to the front, and it's going to set you back about $2.5 million at full price, or $1.9 million for the trade price from Warstock Cash and Carry. Now, the Phantom Wedge has improved acceleration and top speed from the normal Phantom, so it's good to see that having a giant metal wedge on the front actually somehow improves this vehicle's handling. And another cool thing about this vehicle is that the Phantom Wedge can carry 3 extra players on the back. I believe there's 2 side ladders, and then a third person can fit on right at the back end. The only drawback of the Phantom Wedge compared to the ramp buggy is the ramp buggy seems to slide under vehicles a lot nicer, so it seems to take a bit less damage than the Phantom Wedge does. You know, obviously this huge wedge does have somewhat of an impact with the vehicles you're hitting, so it seems to kind of damage your vehicle more. So in the testing that I did, it did, you know, eventually catch fire, you know, start smoking after you'd flipped quite a lot of cars with this one. Up next is the Ruiner 2000. This was yet another vehicle that came from the import-export DLC. And if you guys thought the last few vehicles were expensive, well, you're going to be in for a treat, because the Ruiner 2000 is going to set you back $5.7 million at full price. You can get a nice discount on the trade price, which is $4.3 million, but that's still a very extortionate price for this vehicle, so I'd definitely try and pick this one up on a discount week if you can. The main features of the Ruiner 2000 are the 2 machine guns, it's got rockets, and of course the very signature parachute, which can be set out and retracted as many times as you want. And it also comes with a very handy hop feature as well, so you can use this hop to help you get into a jump, get a bit of extra height before you bring out your parachute. And yeah, this is just a very fun vehicle to take around. You know, obviously you can go up in the mountains and get some good height on this thing and bring out your parachute and be able to glide for quite a while. And I've seen quite a few clips on Reddit from people getting pretty good at using this vehicle. It is going to take some practice before you're able to take on some of the aircraft, but I've seen some people do some very fancy maneuvers in this thing and even take out helicopters and hydras with it. You know, you've got your homing missiles in this vehicle, so yeah, if you get good at controlling this thing, you can do some serious damage to other players with it. I also believe the missiles from the Ruiner 2000 actually have more effective tracking than the actual homing launcher. Next up is the LF-22 Starling, and this is probably one of my most favourite aircraft to fly from the Smuggler's Run DLC, just because how different this vehicle actually is. This vehicle costs 3.6 million at full price or 2.75 million at trade price from Warstock Cash and Carry, and you probably want to save up a little bit extra money to customise this thing and add a few modifications such as the bombs. The one upgrade that I would say is pretty essential for getting the most out of this vehicle is the rocket boost upgrade, which I believe costs 200,000 and is going to give you a huge boost to your rocket, and it's definitely something that this vehicle requires really. This vehicle is just a one-seater, however the weaponry really does make up for the lack of passenger seats. You get by default 2 machine guns, and then also the option to add on missiles, and of course the ability to drop bombs. The reason I like this plane so much is just because it flies so differently from everything else out there. You know, you've got this huge rocket boost. It's basically kind of like a rocket VOLTIC or an oppressor version of the aircraft. So you get a huge speed boost from this rocket, and then you can just kind of glide with it, and you can turn that speed boost on and off at the button of a toggle. There are quite a few source missions from your Smuggler's Run hangar that will assign you to destroy bases using this vehicle, and the trick is not to use the rocket boost when flying into the drop zone. You know, let yourself kind of glide, and that way you can have a lot more control and accuracy when dropping the bombs. And then once you've finished your bombing run, you can then use your rocket boost to make a quick escape or evade other players. The only downside to this vehicle is it can be especially tricky to land this thing. But yeah, if you want to have some fun doing bombing runs, this vehicle is a great choice. At the number 5 spot is the Marshal. I believe this vehicle was first of all an exclusive for players that had played the PS3 or the Xbox 360 versions of GTA 5. However, it is now open to purchase for all players for $500,000. But if you are a returning player, you can of course still get this for free. And the Marshal is just generally a super fun vehicle to use, and you can sometimes be assigned gun running stock cell missions using these things, which always kind of makes for a fun mission using them. The Marshal also has a bunch of customization options with the ability to add a bunch of different flags on the back. I of course went with the Scotland flag, because if you guys didn't already know, I am Scottish. If you didn't know that, you should probably unsubscribe. At the number 4 spot is the Insurgent, and you might be a little bit surprised to see the Insurgent make it to this list. Now, the original Insurgent was added way back with the Heist DLC, and since then, you know, there is also the Insurgent Pickup which you can get, and also the Insurgent Pickup Custom, which you can upgrade further in your MOC. However, personally, I like sticking with the original Insurgent just because the price is so reasonable for what you get. This vehicle is going to cost you $897,000 or $675,000 after the Humane Labs raid. So as you can see, compared to some of the other vehicles on this list, it actually is really affordable. Even when you compare the performance of the different Insurgent types, the original Insurgent actually performs very similar to them, so you're not really missing out on too much by not spending the extra money for the upgraded Insurgent types. And yeah, the Insurgent is just one of my go-to vehicles if I know there's any Hydras up in the sky that might go for me, because they're going to have a bit of a hard time taking it out in this vehicle. The Insurgent is very resilient to explosives, so you can take quite a few of those missiles before you blow up. At the number 3 spot is the Blazer AQUA, which is basically a modified version of the Blazer quad bike, and this is essentially a quad bike that can drive in water. This vehicle, however, isn't cheap. It has a price of $1.75 million or $1.32 million with the trade price from Warstock Cash and Carry. On land, this thing is a decently fast vehicle, and then you can simply just drive into the water and basically have a sea shark. So this is a lot of fun to use, just going from land to water. On water you are going to be driving a little bit slower than you would on land, but you will actually be able to keep up with some of the boats in the game, so you will pick up some decent speed on this. At the very honourable number 2 spot is the Rocket VOLTIC, and this one was added as part of the Import-Export DLC, and it doesn't come cheap. This one's going to set you back $3.8 million or $2.8 million from the trade price. The Rocket VOLTIC is a modified variant of the VOLTIC vehicle, except with, you guessed it, you know, a massive rocket attached on the back, and it's kind of basically Rocket League in GTA 5. From a standstill, this rocket will give you an excellent speed boost. You can go from 0 to 130 miles per hour in about 1 second. The rocket does have a relatively long recharge time of 9 seconds before it can be used again, and you'll also have to land back on the ground for a certain period of time before it will actually start to recharge. So just make sure you touch your wheels on the ground and start that recharge. So yeah, this is just generally a very fun vehicle to drive around and play around in a free roam lobby. At the number 1 spot, you guys might have seen this one coming, and it has to go to the Oppressor, and in my opinion this vehicle is an absolute game changer. You can pick this one up from Warstock Cash and Carry for about 3.5 million or 2.6 million at the trade price. I'm not gonna lie, when you first pick up this vehicle it takes a bit of getting used to. You're probably gonna fall off and die quite a lot, I know I did. However, once you get used to it, this is just a super fun vehicle to use, and it's actually really convenient as well. When you register yourself as a biker MC, you can use the interaction menu to request this bike anywhere and it's going to spawn right next to you. So no matter where you are in GT Online, it's a really very convenient vehicle to get close to you, and it's also a very fast vehicle. You know, you can propel yourself with that rocket across the map in just a couple of seconds. The only major downside to the Oppressor is the fact that it does require bunker research for some of the best liveries and also the missiles. I actually haven't spent a lot of time researching in GT Online, and I don't really have the patience or the time to do the bunker upgrades, so I don't actually have the missiles on this, the Oppressor, to show you guys here, but they probably are a very worthwhile investment if you do use this vehicle a lot. So yeah, that was my top 10 must-own fun vehicles in GTA Online. Let me know in the comments what your favourite vehicle is, and if there was any that I missed out or should have been in this countdown, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please take a few seconds to leave it a like, and also subscribe if you're new. It really helps support my channel. And I do a new countdown every single week. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one. Sick of it, Los Santos. Dodging missiles, dodging bullets. Coming at me now, tell me to pull it. I'm a G, DOA, silent core in GTA.